Welcome to the Georg Rockall-Schmidt Show, the worst podcast on the internet. Welcome to the Georg Rockall-Schmidt Show. Today, as ever, I'm with Damien. Say hello, Damien.
Hello.
And we're going to be trying to discuss Indiana Jones 4 and what it would have been like if it wasn't like the film that it actually is already.
Ooh. Should we clarify that we didn't set any kind of brief here or just jump straight into it and cut this out?
I think if anyone's listened to the previous 9 podcasts, I think that's probably assumed.
I mean, it sounds like there was a little bit of prep in the first 2 episodes, but shortly after that, it was straight off a diving board. We're only humouring you guys by listening, but we can tell you try like fuck all.
Tangents the podcast, I think this should have been called. So before we start that, I have a Facebook message here from so Eric Roberts from Savannah, Georgia, says this: an idea for the Bible movie. The end times are upon us and all existence is fouled. In the midst of the chaos, Hellboy must track down the returned Christ. Once together, the misunderstood heroes find more about themselves than they ever knew, including the true extent of unconditional love. I think that's very disrespectful, Eric. I think if you listen to us in the last podcast, you'd know that we have a lot of respect for the Bible and all its shit.
I was wondering where you were going with that, and you didn't disappoint.
So, Damien, Indiana Jones 4, can you believe that it's almost 10 years old?
Yes. I mean, yes.
I mean, I remember only the other day people seem to be coming out saying, I can't believe they're doing an Indiana Jones 4. Can you believe they're doing an Indiana Jones 4? What the fuck are they doing an Indiana Jones 4? Oh my God.
See, my experience was different. I was quite curious. I was like, they're making an Indiana Jones 4. I will go see this. And I did.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I've only seen it once, and that was 10 years ago upon release. And subsequently, every time I think I've seen the better part of the movie in its entirety a couple of times, just in the footage on these shitbox reviews online quite a few times. It feels quite fresh in my memory, but I would say, I suppose it has been a fucking long time.
Yeah, which definitely explains the CGI monkeys.
I mean, I think Spielberg and Lucas are very ambitious with their CGI. I think it's almost, it's almost admirable. But I don't know, but the sheer volume of CGI in their respective movies, I just don't think it's going to, even nowadays, I don't think it's like good enough to really kind of, I don't like what I'm about to say, to kind of do justice to their visions, for lack of a better word, for lack of a better phrase.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of CGI which goes unnoticed. That you, I mean, that's good CGI. When you don't know it's there, that's good CGI. Like I always say, Fury Road has great CGI because they mix it in with practical effects and because they planned how to do it, and I guess they understood a bit more.
Yeah, I would say, I totally agree. I would say one of the best CGI effects I've ever seen is in Apollo 13, right, which is really quite old, but it's when I imagine it's Tom Hanks. It's one of the three, and they're putting
Tom Hanks actually had a coleslaw which took up like a third.
No,
of his
we
face.
can't call it a coleslaw. It was a bubo. It was disgusting. Like half of his face was not recognizable, but they managed to mask it beautifully.
Do you remember in the 90s where Tom Hanks had AIDS for 6 months for charity?
But no, I would say one of the best CGI effects. It's as he's putting on the helmet, which has this mirrored surface, but it's dead on. It's and as he's putting the helmet on, you just don't see any cameras at all. I think that's genius. And
right, okay.
The way it's shot, the camera is obviously directly in front of this helmet. It's a very tight close-up, and he just puts it on. You just see like the bunker around him, and his colleagues and what have you. And obviously they've just edited out the crew, but it's really eloquent. It's very simple. You just don't realize that's a CGI effect. It's invisible.
Maybe the camera was just really far away.
Damn.
Maybe they were shooting through some glass which was slightly angled so that you can't see the camera.
Damn.
Are you sure it was CGI? Oh, yeah, if you type it... Oh, never mind. Yeah, because now I'm getting into kind of people saying that they didn't land on the moon. Never mind, forget about that.
No, you're getting into you'll come twice in 5 minutes. This game is so sexy.
Because I often see when I read these game reviews, I see, what's the longevity of the game? What are the graphics like? Is there any DLC? What's the multiplayer like? How sexy is the game?
And we have, and obviously that's a huge area there, and you have to define parameters for said sexiness, and that again is like another 200-word essay right there.
Sid Meier's Trains, yeah, it's a fun game. You can play it for a long time, but it is very sexy.
It's a little bit too sexy for what it wants to be.
Sexy. Yeah. Yes, those trains have quite the gleam on them.
Oh dear.
Oh.
Very well oiled. Very well oiled.
Very well oiled. No bueno.
Some would argue, poorly coded.
The oil is poorly coded.
Oh dear.
So what do we think about Indiana Jones 4? Because I think that people were very disappointed by it, but I'm not sure it has a level of hate.
I've always heard it spoken with quite a bit of disdain. I always thought there was quite a bit of hate for it, personally.
Okay, all right, okay.
I remember really loathing it in the cinemas and really kind of feeling quite upset that I was excited to see the movie.
Well, I mean, I think I like you. I really like the first three.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the sort of film that was on every Christmas.
Yeah.
What I liked about the first three as well was you didn't have to watch them in chronological order. They were their own adventures. And sure, there was a chronology to them, but you could just watch an Indiana Jones, and it wouldn't be kind of... and that was it. Which one are you watching? I'm watching the one with his dad.
Yeah, I do remember because as a kid, I'd always confuse Lost Ark and the... Oh, fuck it. What is the name of the third one?
Raiders of the Lost Ark and Raiders of the Last Crusade and Raiders of the Temple of Doom, I think are the names of...
Raiders being the key. Like, it shouldn't have been... All right, here's how we improve Indiana Jones. We just call it Raiders.
Raiders of the Crystal Skull. Raiders of the Lost Temple of the Ark in the Lost Temple, which contains a crystal skull.
Which raids? Raiders.
I associate crystal skulls with 50 Cent.
It was very unbecoming for an Indiana Jones movie. I could dispense with all that sci-fi. I can look past all that sci-fi shit. It's just I thought the crystal skull itself was just far too gaudy, far too gauche.
Well,
Indy was better than that.
Oh yeah, Indiana Jones. We're looking for the special homeopathic remedy. Or something. I mean, crystal skull. Fuck off.
It's like when Indy's being tortured by the Russians, and they, instead of setting down the crystal skull, they've just brewed some witch hazel, and they've just got it under his nose like smelling salts, and he's just going out of his fucking mind.
It's like, it smells so rich.
My sinuses.
They're invigorated, but also polluted. Don't you know?
Flawless impressions, as per usual.
Okay, so you were in the cinema when this happened. So 2008, you were 30. What did you think?
You were still alive.
You were very much alive. When did it lose you?
I mean, I think the caution bulb was lit with the prairie dog. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to say that's kind of when I thought, oh.
And I thought, fine, but I'll be patient. That's fine. It's the first 20 seconds. I think even for me, it's a little bit too early to kind of shit on it.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
I still don't quite understand what that was all about. Because as soon as I saw that, I thought, it's this fucking Caddyshack now, are we?
Yeah, right.
But whatever. I mean, I mean, that
gopher was vaporized by the nuclear blast, right?
That's what they don't tell you.
Right.
That's why it had to be CGI.
Because that was a real nuclear bomb that they detonated.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like a real nuclear bomb, but it was, quite a devastating incendiary device. That was shot in the middle of the Mojave. The fact that the real miracle here is how they recovered that footage.
So I think Indiana Jones 4 lost me when I heard about Indiana Jones 4, and then I remembered that it wasn't 1989.
Ooh.
Because I'm going to say something which no one has ever said before. Harrison Ford is too old in Indiana Jones 4, and I mean that with respect. I like Harrison Ford a lot, but it's like saying we're going to cast Frank Langella as the next James Bond. Like, no, the guy's too old. Yeah, he's a great actor and everything, but he's too fucking old.
Yeah. I didn't mind that so much. I was looking forward to something. I like the idea of him being crusty and old, and just being miserable the whole way through. But I think one of his opening lines, he was kind of sighing, I don't know, probably about his hip or something, and then he was shortly followed by Ray Winston, and that's when the second caution bulb was lit.
Oh, I knew somebody who worked on a short film, and I was on set on this short film, not doing anything. I was just on set waiting for them because I was going to go out and have a beer with them or something. And Ray Winston was on there. For some reason, he had his phone out and he was showing someone a picture of his daughter. And someone said, "Ooh, she looks nice." And he did this thing of like, "Oh, no, don't you go messing with my daughter. I'll break your face." And it's like, dude, just turn it off. You're a fucking actor. You're not hard. You're a fucking actor.
Why, sonny, what's this?
I mean, Ray Winston is like a fucking bulldog. Like, if he ever managed to catch up to you, you just have to shake him off your leg.
Yeah. And like a bulldog, he has the same kind of congenital breathing. Congenital breathing disorders because of his flat face. Oh no!
Ray, what's it? What is it? It's pork scratchings, Ray. It's pork scratchings. Go get him.
So
Straight into a combine harvester.
So it's come from just mild contempt of the actor to wishing death upon him.
I like Ray Winston. I've met Ray Winston.
So, in that opening shot in the warehouse in Indiana Jones 4, for inexplicably, there is a combine harvester, right? Indy's got a pack of pork scratchings. I don't know why. He doesn't even like pork scratchings.
So in that opening shot, there's a combine harvester. The problem is the Russians have the keys.
Right. Yes, yeah.
But the thing is Indy's got 43 acres. And the Russians have only got 23.
Because it's still set, late 50s, 60s.
You know what the problem with Indiana Jones 4 is? There's not enough West Country accents in it.
It's not congenial enough. I mean, sure, it's supposed to be the Cold War, but I want to see the Russians and the Americans getting along. And if they can't, help them out with their agricultural endeavors, then I don't want to watch this movie anymore.
There's not enough people eating ambrosia.
Yeah, he's old, so he must be eating pudding.
Where's my pudding?
Indiana Jones 5. Where's my pudding?
So going back to Indiana Jones 4, so I guess we disagree. I think Indiana Jones was too old. I didn't want to see Indiana Jones as an older man. And that's it. I don't want to think of him as old, and I never wanted to think of young Indiana Jones either.
Mm-hmm.
I never got that. I don't know. I didn't want to see him old.
Yeah, fair enough. But I would say one of the saving graces of this movie was at the end when they kind of this dick tease at the wedding where Indy drops his hat and Shia LaBeouf picks it up, and it's obviously sequel baiting. And at that point, I'd completely given up hope of ever liking this movie. And he puts on the hat. The movie, the score comes in, and it pretty much cuts the credits.
But isn't it not sequel baiting though? Because Mutt almost gets the hat, and then Jesus Christ, Shia LaBeouf almost gets the hat,
and then he swipes it back. Yes, no, I remember that.
Swipes it back.
No, I always read that as as sequel baiting. I could have sworn I read something about, they were testing the waters for like another movie. They may be talking about like a series centered around Shia LaBeouf, after that. And yeah, it's a saving grace because none of that stuff came to pass. It was just, the movie itself was like a shameful diminished return anyway. The fact that they tried that and it fell on its ass, I consider quite gratifying, really.
Yeah, but it did make quite a lot of money.
I'm sure, but I think the response was that no one kind of wanted to see that, really.
No one wanted to see it. Well, its production budget was $185 million. It made $786.6 million. So it made a lot of money. So yeah, I guess they probably thought, well, we can only trick people into this once.
We'll try again in 20 years.
Honestly, I don't think Shia LaBeouf could carry that on his own. I don't hate on Shia LaBeouf as much as a lot of people do. I don't think he's anywhere near compelling enough to carry something like Indiana Jones.
No. Yeah,
I think what I'm saying is I think Shia LaBeouf is actually much better at characters that have a lot going on, that are quite deep, that are conflicted. Like I think Shia LaBeouf would be fine in a psychological drama where he's got a lot to do. But as others have said, Indiana Jones...
He's woken up. He's setting his alarm. It's 9 a.m. He's got all the washing up to do before he even goes to work.
Oh, God. And there is a lot. He had people around last night.
Oh, it was a successful dinner party, mind.
Why did he have to cook the teriyaki? You know how sticky that is, Damien. The dishwasher isn't going to be able to handle that. He has to do this by hand.
Oh, well, he knew he needed to soak that dish, but he was carried away. He was pouring that wine and drinking it himself. He was having a good time. He thought it was his time to live.
Wait a minute. Is that a spot of something on his work trousers? He doesn't have time to wash them. Oh no, what a nightmare.
But they're already in the press. It's going to be cooked into the fibers. This is his nightmare.
But what I mean is Indiana Jones is very much more... The character is very much more about his actions. And, Indiana Jones isn't kind of the deepest sort of character in the world.
No, it's far from a nuanced character, I would say.
Right, and I think that if you're going to do something like that, you need somebody who has a lot of on-screen charisma. Someone like Harrison Ford or like Sean Connery or something like that.
Yeah, but I think that's how they pitched it. It's like, well, who do we have? Well, we have Harrison Ford or Sean Connery. All right, Harrison Ford then.
Yeah.
We couldn't have really thought outside the box there, maybe looked a little harder. You said Harrison Ford or Sean Connery.
But Harrison Ford, you can watch him do nothing. Like you could watch Harrison Ford sit in a car and light a cigarette, and it's interesting. Whereas Shia LaBeouf, no, I'm serious. Shia LaBeouf can't do that. Shia LaBeouf isn't interesting to watch like that.
Mm-hmm. I think for a lot of people, sitting him just doing anything, I think their heckles are up because of his meltdown. People have very negative attitudes towards him.
He's the only person who's ever been diagnosed as allergic to Pepe the Frog. I don't think Shia. So what I'm saying is, I don't think Shia LaBeouf could carry it.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't think so either. I think shortly after, it can't have been that much long after that before a lot of that stuff started to happen, really.
But who could have carried it? Kieran Culkin. Like, imagine that. Imagine if they went. Yeah, so I've been thinking about what young Indiana Jones, the next generation of Indiana Jones needs. It needs the next Indiana Jones' son needs to be a little bit chubby and a little bit goth.
Get the fuck out of my office.
Says Harrison.
So is that a yes or a no on the Culkin?
Yeah. Get the fuck out of my office and onto my private plane because we're going places, baby.
Champagne, cigars, and coke, baby. That's the rest of your life now.
Oh, these cigars are weird. What are these? Ooh, these are champagne cigars. very, very moist.
They're also massive. That's where they get their name.
Can you believe that all of these cigars have been in Monica Lewinsky? That's why I pay a premium for them.
My God, she has an unhappy life now. We churn these motherfuckers out.
Oh, she really does have an unhappy life. Yeah, I saw her TED talk where she was basically saying it sucks to be Monica Lewinsky, and yeah, I can understand why.
And it's TED talk, so it's not juvenile. It was a point-by-point breakdown as to why her life is miserable. She was supposed to talk about depression, but went wildly off track.
Oh, she basically was talking about depression, yeah.
I mean, are you serious? Is that like a thing?
Yeah, no, she's got a TED talk, and she doesn't talk about depression, but she talks about shame and all of that, and
I suppose so, yeah.
when that happened. But luckily, as Bill Clinton has said, putting a cigar into somebody else's vagina is not a sexual act. It's just weird.
It's just fun.
It depends if it's lit or not.
In which case, I'll understand any assault charges.
Well, no, if it's lit and you put it into somebody's vagina, and then you get a pair of
All right, which end is in? Which end is inside?
Marx Brothers, a pair of Marx Brothers glasses and a nose, and if there's a bit of decoration going on, I can see why that's not sexual.
I would see why that's fucking hilarious.
If you get some googly eyes on there.
All right, now shake your waist a little bit. Make those eyes work.
So you don't think Indiana Jones was too old?
No. Well,
but he's waddling about. He can't run.
Or I'm not married to the idea that he's too old. It's just I didn't. When I was watching the movie, it wasn't too much to. When I was watching the movie, it wasn't too much of a fucking problem for me. It felt like the movie focused on fight scenes with other people, and he would just kind of like stand in the background. I don't know, kind of clapping his hands a little bit.
I mean, I think they if they're going to do this, if they're going to get everyone, if they're going to be like, okay, well, Indiana Jones is this age now. I think they should have got everyone. I think they should have got Sean Connery. I think they should have had an amazing CGI of Denham Elliott.
That's something that fucking bugged me about the movie as well. They had this like statue at the university as a sort of tribute to Denham Elliott. And it was just the ugliest fucking statue. Yeah. It barely looked like him. The poor fucking guy.
Poor Denham Elliott. Yeah, no, I think like Sean Connery, he should have been there, as a 90-year-old man. Denham Elliott should have been there as a 90-year-old man. They should have got who's the guy who was in Sliders? John Rhys Davies.
Oh, right.
Who's like, ooh, take this little monkey, Indy.
Ooh, bad dates.
Oh no, Indy, Marcel has killed himself.
Was it called Marcel? Because I seem to remember Marcel was the monkey from Friends, which I totally don't know about because I never watched.
Oh, I didn't realise that either. That totally wasn't a reference to Friends or anything.
No, of course not.
But I've never seen it. It's for women.
It's for girls.
It's for what? What did you say? Gaydos?
It's for girls.
Gaydo. I mean, that sounds like some sort of like hair modelling cream.
With a lot of complaints.
Yeah, but you've got to use a generous amount of Gaydo to get you right Gaydo. Well, what is it about the alien angle that is so incongruent with the rest of the movies? Because the rest of the movies do deal with supernatural stuff.
Yeah, but it was always
Galia, Umbale, or whatever.
Yeah, but it was kind of spiritual and kind of had this religious angle, that could never be explained. Right. It just is what it is. It was just like, I don't know. I've never kind of thought of it too much, but I don't know. I kind of feel like with the alien angle, any kind of sci-fi angle with stuff like that, I like the crystal skull itself wasn't too offensive, and it's kind of mind control thing. But like trying to explain that it came from an alien race that came here and helped the Mayans, it's like if you try to explain this shit, it loses its charm. And that's what really killed it for me. I can give or take old Harrison Ford grumbling away and shuffling around, but as soon as you try to kind of explain it, it feels to me that you're just trying to imbue it with more weight than a cheap swashbuckling adventure deserves. It doesn't need to be explained. Stop trying to make it seem plausible. The whole point is it's supposed to just be an adventure.
Which I think is the same thing the same mistake they made with Star Wars. Like the midichlorian stuff. Like it doesn't matter.
Well, I would say most prequels always make that mistake.
Right. Well, certainly the same with Alien. I mean,
that's
you
the
know,
biggest
as we've
offender
said,
for me. Yeah.
You know, the whole point, not the whole point with Alien, but Alien was so interesting because it was this alien. Like, what the fuck is it? Where's it from? We don't have time to worry about that. Kill it.
Yeah, it was almost like Elemental. It was so kind of vague. It's just, it is what it is. That's it. And it's all the wrong type of fan service, really.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think any movies, you know, any sequels or prequels kill a good original. I don't think Indiana Jones 4 kills the other three or anything like that, because I just ignore it. Like, I can watch Alien, and, you know, I'm not thinking about the events of Alien. You know, I could watch Alien now, and I'm not thinking about the events of Alien Covenant. I'm not thinking of, oh, there were some blue David Camerons who made these weird aliens. I wonder why, sort of thing. I don't care.
Blue David Camerons.
Do you not think they look like blue David Camerons? Like plasticine.
Yes, they kind of
David
can,
Camerons.
but I don't. Yeah. You know, when I imagine David Cameron with his top off, I don't see those kind of muscles, man. That kind of build. If they're a bit more stout, you know, I could kind of go that angle.
You know, David Cameron.
That would be a fucking nightmare of a movie. Just all these naked blue David Camerons all about the place.
Whenever I hear the word or the phrase Hufflepuff, I think of David Cameron. And whenever I think of David Cameron, I think of Henry from Thomas the Tank Engine.
I mean, shamefully, I cannot remember anything about Thomas the Tank Engine, as much of an avid fan as I was as a child. Please explain to me.
Okay, so you know, there must be a few people right now Googling Henry. Henry looks like the fucking spitting image of Thomas the Tank Engine, of David Cameron. There's a photo I'm looking at of Henry where he looks kind of sad and worried.
He really does look like Henry. Henry really does look like him, particularly when he's sad.
Yeah, he does. He's got the kind of crow's feet, and especially the jowls.
Yes, yeah. Oh, that's superb.
Okay, so what should Indiana Jones 4 have been then?
Fly on the wall kind of documentary, because I reckon.
Okay,
it's not really about. Yeah, it's kind of sort of like a behind the scenes thing.
So it's like a behind the scenes of a movie that they never made.
Yeah, but what would it's going to be like? It's sort of like this kind of revelatory thing that the crystal skulls that they were using weren't actually props. They were like Mayan relics, and they started to like mess with the cast and all this kind of stuff. And you see like this kind of candid footage of Shia LaBeouf, you know, in the same chair that Indy was tortured in, all this kind of stuff. And it's all this precursor to Shia LaBeouf's massive fucking breakdown. Right,
and basically it's all a huge excuse for Shia LaBeouf having a breakdown. It's all like, don't worry guys, we know he acted out, but logical explanation, crystal skulls. Well, as you say, it should have been something kind of supernatural. It should have been they find, you know, some sort of you know, tabernacle or something. And, you know, deal with that.
Toby Juck.
Okay, I mean, what about if it was Indiana Jones and Ray Winston, and they were looking for the crown jewels for the Queen at the beginning of the film,
right.
But they stumble on a text leading them on a journey of discovery in Wales. And then enjoying English Welsh trains and locally made ice cream and Welsh hospitality, the two trek across Wales to find King Arthur's predecessor to the Doomsday Book among the exotic backdrop of the Welsh valleys. Can Ray Winston and
can they weather the rain?
Can
and
they
the mud?
Can they find King Arthur's Book of Taxes from 890 or whatever, which are in no way supernatural or beneficial to any political entity, but are quite historically important?
Yes, lest we forget, he was an archaeologist first and foremost.
If it was just Indiana Jones going, oh look, a little bit of Roman pot. Tony, Baldric, come over here. I found a little bit of pot. No, Tony, don't hog the pot. We'll share it. We'll pass it on the left-hand side.
Oh dear. What was that show called? I can't remember.
Time Teams.
I was going to say Time Wars.
Time Wars.
See Indiana Jones pitted against Tony Robinson through beyond eras.
I mean, I think that Mick from Time Team would have been a great young Indiana Jones.
I'm sorry.
I couldn't not laugh as it came out of my mouth. Oh dear.
Do
Do you remember Mick?
No, I don't. I only remember Baldrick.
I don't mean Mick. I mean the other one.
The other one from Time Team.
Yeah, Phil Harding. Phil from Time Team. I'm sure if you're either like not from Britain or you're fucking under 30, you've no idea what we're talking about.
Or if you're here at the 40-minute mark and you're not dead.
So Phil would do all the digging, and you'd have all these people standing around, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, look at a bit of pot. Yeah, but yeah, it's Roman, isn't it? Yeah." And then when Time Team got a bit older, they would get these younger archaeologists in, and they would be there like brushing things, you know. They'd be at the bottom of this ditch, like gently brushing soil off. But Phil would be the only guy who would actually do any fucking digging. So it's like, oh yeah, Phil, can you dig? Can you dig a trench which is like 8 foot by 12 foot and 6 foot deep? And when you do that, Phil, we'll do the brushing. Don't worry, we'll brush the dirt off the pot, but you do the digging, Phil.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're brewing Earl Grey at the moment. We couldn't possibly, but if you want to just, do it.
And he was such a weird dude, and he's like the first dude I ever saw who had kind of long nails, and I thought that was weird when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you remember so much from it that I mean, I've got it up here. I imagine he's the one with the long hair. No.
Is Tony Robinson in that image you sent me wearing that hat to discreetly enhance his height?
I imagine so.
Why?
I don't know, I just saw his sullen fucking face.
If no one else was in that picture apart from Tony Robinson, it would look like Tony Robinson is going to do some fucking raping.
I mean, it's pretty fucking harsh, isn't it?
Well, he stood dick first. I mean, his hips are thrust forward.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying this. I mean, look at it.
Yeah, it does. It looks pretty bad.
A very visual podcast, this one, I think.
Okay.
So if you're enjoying this as a normal podcast, fuck you.
Yeah, it's the Time Team slideshow.
It's just us going through Time Team slides from like 20 years ago, being like, "Oh, he looks a bit weird there." Oh.
Yeah, fucking hell. I bet he hasn't aged well. Do you reckon he's still alive? Probably not. Let's hope so. Do you reckon,
Christ.
right, on the next season of Time Team, they're going to find his body? Wouldn't that
Jesus
be a laugh, Damien?
It's a window into the future conversation we're going to have about Time Team.
The Time Team movie, no less. Oh, wow. I've got a thumbnail here. One last dig, Mick Aston, Time Team, but it's got the old Channel 4 logo. I haven't seen it in like God knows how many years. Wow. Do you remember when it had the coloured bars?
Okay, well, do you have any ideas of what Indiana Jones 4 could have been?
I'm completely derailed. I've looked at way too much Time Team to give you a cohesive answer there, I'm afraid.
Talked about Alien, then obviously that led naturally to Thomas the Tank Engine.
And then Time Team.
What should I call this one then? Fucking Indiana Jones and Other Tangents.
No, just Indiana Jones. Why did we bother?
What about if the intro to Indiana Jones 4 is just Indiana Jones saying, I don't, being my age, I don't do much field work anymore. And then it's just him pottering about in his office for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it kind of slowly merges into something akin to like About Schmidt. It's just this, this guy in his autumn years kind of dealing with, well, nothing anymore really, and just kind of coming to terms with it. Yeah,
instead of the Indiana Jones not being old, it's all about Indiana Jones being old. He doesn't go on an adventure or anything. He just comes to the realization that he's going to have to retire soon, and then the next major step in his life after retirement is going to be his death.
Yeah.
And there's nothing he can do, and it's very, very sad.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we, take for granted was as glamorous as those adventures were. There was no there was no profit, and there was no money. He was not.
No, I mean, all he got from that was
these
a bad
artifacts, but he went back to a teacher's wage. Went back to a
teacher's wage. All he had to show for it was a little bit of rheumatism.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of implied that he was crushing ass left and right with his students. Maybe he was fired in disgrace for illicit relationships. This is what we can find out.
No, I think it would be even more tragic if it was Indiana Jones gets fired for having an affair with a student, but he never had an affair with her at all. He rebuffed her and she got revenge on him by saying that they'd been having an affair or whatever. And he gets sacked. He doesn't get his pension because of this, and it ends with him in a bedsit drinking half a bottle of vodka a day.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of explores because of
and that's
his wage
when
up at this point.
That's when he breaks into the museum, and he's like, "I'm gonna get my artifacts back. Yeehaw, Indiana Jones!" And that's when Ben Stiller says, "Oh, you young man, stop right there." And they go on an adventure together, and they fly around, and there's Hank Azaria pretending to be Imhotep and everything, and it's not an awful movie at all.
Right, okay, yeah. Because, that movie you're talking about wasn't awful either.
No, you mean Indiana Jones 4? Indiana Jones 4, A Night at a Museum.
No, just, in his elderly kind of dementia, he breaks in, like, during the day. He's, like, instantly apprehended and taken home. He busts through the front door like, ha-ha! Like, come with us, sir.
He doesn't even commit a crime. He doesn't cross any barriers or anything. They just turn him around and wish him good luck.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you can see quite clearly that he hasn't done his trousers up. Flies down, buttons undone. He's wearing pants. It's not explicit or anything like that. They just know it's about to get a little bit out of hand, and they deal with the problem before it's a problem. I mean, the museum security did a fantastic job this time around, but Indy is less than amused.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of another kind of storyline for Indiana Jones. I mean, I don't think there is one really. I think the Crystal Skull thing isn't very good, but I also don't think it's the worst story they could have given him. I think just the way it was handled was pretty bad.
So you reckon the museum heist after an apparent sexual, a false sexual misconduct in his job is the right way to go?
Well, they could have rounded off their series by Indiana Jones realizing that all these amazing artifacts that they've, very much like the British Museum, that these museums in America now have, those artifacts don't really belong there. They don't belong in a museum. They belong where they were. And maybe it's all about getting that gold idol that we see at the beginning of Raiders back to where it was.
Yeah, but he's not like delivering it with any grace. He just kind of gets in the vague ballpark and just launches it with a bat.
he just flies over it in a biplane and drops it out of the window.
So you can have that classic Indy montage where you've got the map and the red line as it traces around the globe. You just hear the sound of shattering pots and glass, and
because because he's flying over Delaware. He just drops it through somebody's skylight.
Yes, yeah.
No, but I don't
Tony
know,
Robinson's on the ground and he's like trying to dig all this shit up because he's he's become quite green-eyed at this point.
Tony Robinson could be the next Indiana Jones.
No, he's the next villain, surely.
Yeah,
he's
quite villainous.
Yeah, he's got the right face for it. You put him in a long, dark trench coat. I don't want to be anywhere near that.
Well, it can't be too long. Yeah, those in glass houses. No, but he could go back into the place where he stole the golden idol from. He could go back in there and kind of like realize what a mess he's made of all this. Kind of like, oh fuck, all these traps don't work and everything like
the
that.
indigenous tribe, particularly the beginning of the first movie, but they go into complete disarray. He goes back years later and all he finds is this mass grave where he can see that 200 people just ate themselves alive.
No. I think it's the opposite. I think he lands, in that airstrip again, and then he's kind of sneaking around, and he finds the entrance to this cave, and then he hears this weird kind of like ringing, and it's one of these tribes people, but they're in a kind of like tatty t-shirt, and they've got like an ice cream stand, and they've just been completely westernized. And they don't have a lot of money, but they have, all their boats have motors on them and stuff like that now.
Oh, and they plead with Indy. They could have like a kind of a tourist economy if he delivers the idol back, and they can, build better homes for themselves.
And Indiana Jones is like, well, you've got Western medicine now, and they're like, yeah, that helps us fight all the disease we've got now, and half of our men are alcoholics now, and all of that. But yeah, great.
Indy 5, the humanitarian crusade.
Because what that golden idol was doing was it was keeping Pepsi out of that tribe's area. Because without that, Pepsi came right in and modernised it.
Oh yeah. It was undefended territory after that.
I don't know. I don't know. That's kind of a genuine offering, though. I mean, I think if Indiana Jones had kind of thought, I'm going to break into the British Museum and repatriate some mummies, I think that'd been quite interesting. I mean, maybe something more sensible than that, but yeah, maybe.
No. I think we can go exactly as sensible as that. I kind of want to see him with 2 mummies over his back and maybe a little bit of slapstick comedy as he drops it. You know, maybe the head drops off or something. Or maybe a finger at first. He's like, oh. And then,
because
it gets worse, and then he has to glue it back together, and he's like, sorry for, offending your violating your culture, but woohoo.
Woohoo. Oh, it always leads back to Time Team. I mean, the people at home don't know, but as soon as we stop this podcast, we're instantly talking about Time Team. Did that person in that film look like someone from Time Team? Did you get a Time Team vibe from that film? It's all about Time Team.
That's how we measure movies, on the Time Team scale.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Time Team is a bit 90s now. I think it should be Time Squad.
I was saying it should be Time Wars.
Time Wars.
They're fighting against the past. The past wants to be forgotten, but the present won't let it.
So they like dig something up. And they're like, it's been years since I've seen a Greco part in such condition. Smash!
Another victory.
Another victory against the past. Oh my God! Is this a letter from Emily Bronte that no one's ever seen before? Okay, so you have been listening to the Georg Rockall-Schmidt Show. Thank you very much for listening. I'm not reading this or anything like that. Next time we're not doing a film. I mean, well, this time we didn't do a film either. We are. We're talking.
I think you should put that disclaimer at the beginning of the show as well. Actually,
at the beginning of every show. You know the title? Yeah, we're not talking about that. We're talking next week about the art of Ringo Starr. Look it up or don't. I don't care.
Goodbye.
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 Good. That was that done. Fuck off.